With commentary and analysis on our hometown teams, this is the Bucky and Sully Show. Presented by Dave's Christmas Wonderland. 2 locations, Union Road, Cheektowaga, and Transit Road, Williamsville. Now, from the WBBZ-TV studio, here are Buffalo News sports columnists Bucky Gleason and Jerry Sullivan.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Bucky and Sully Show. I'm Bucky Gleason. This is Jerry Sullivan. Make sure you stay with us for the second segment. We're going to go over the NFL draft with Vic Carucci of the Buffalo News. Sully, you recovered finally from the draft after 3 days of joy?
You were talking about the Spurs.
No, we'll get to them. Don't worry about that.
I said on this show they would lose Game 7. I mean, I was very realistic about them because my knowledge of the NBA exceeds my love of the Spurs.
Okay, we'll get to the Spurs later.
What were you saying about the draft?
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't think I am. I was just worn out today. Like 4 days of that when the team doesn't have a first-round pick, I was struggling.
I got to tell you, I was out of town, so I was busy, so I wasn't really paying attention to what was going on. They didn't have a first-round pick, and I really was busy, so I guess I could have followed it on my phone, but I didn't. So it was kind of nice. So I'm still catching up to it myself. So you can actually take me through some of this stuff.
I'm envious.
It was a nice break, and my phone's going off, and people are asking me, so what'd you think of the pick? And I didn't think anything of the pick because I didn't know about it.
Then you have the fight. You have all that stuff going on Saturday. I literally did not know who won that fight till like late Sunday because I didn't care, and it wasn't in the paper because it was late.
I was following our Tim Graham on Twitter, Sully, and we all know that he's just a fight expert and one of the great ones in the country. And I conked out like 6th round. I think he had at the time. I think he had Pacquiao up 5-2, and then I lost it, and then found out, that Mayweather won. I was bummed out. I wanted Pacquiao to smack him around. I was probably like most people. Let's get to the NFL draft, shall we?
Let's do it.
All right, first couple picks. Winston, Mariota. They go 1-2. No surprises there. Now, you made a point before that, when you look at it, you go back to Manning and Ryan Leaf. As you mentioned just before the show, Peyton Manning and Ryan Leaf, when they went 1-2, at the time, there was a lot of controversy. Now, younger people today wouldn't even comprehend that. First of all, they don't know who Ryan Leaf is. But at the time, if we could roll back the tape on life and look at all the smart people who thought that Ryan Leaf was a better quarterback than Peyton Manning, those people wouldn't even have jobs now.
Yeah, and they probably said he's NFL ready, just like Winston. I'm not saying he's not NFL ready, but there's always a stage in this draft talk where I think people start to fall into line. But I think there are a lot of people out there that thought Mariota would be better. He's a fabulous athlete. He didn't go second for nothing. And then there's no other quarterback taken for like 3 rounds. Mariota is very good, and he might very well end up being better than Winston. But in a lot of people's eyes, apparently, Winston's clearly better. But there's a gap, and I don't know, the decision-making, and that's the knock on him, his decision-making off the field and on the field, he threw a lot of bad interceptions, is what makes you wonder, because it's a very difficult position, the toughest in sports. If you have any problems making decisions, I don't know how NFL ready you really are.
Well, to me, Sully, when you look at the situation and quarterbacks in particular, there's always this talk about, are they an NFL-type quarterback? And I've watched a lot of quarterbacks come through that were pretty successful that weren't NFL-type quarterbacks, namely Russell Wilson. And, guys like him, they started to reinvent the game. Now we're away from that. Now we're away from the read option and all this other stuff, and we're back to drop-back passers and strong arms. And it doesn't matter as much, it seems, if you're a guy who plays Mariota style or Bryce Petty's style. More of the open run and gun, throw it all over the field, use your legs yourself to rush and run the ball, not just to escape trouble. So it is interesting, and I don't know. If you're a GM in this league and you're faced with these two things, now I tend to look at it in an old school way. Maybe I'm a little out of touch in this way too, but I start looking at character issues. I would have taken Mariota and not because I think that he's a better quarterback. I would just be playing percentages. I think I would be terrified to take Winston.
Yeah, one of the reasons a lot of people would have taken him is because he's a very good teammate, from what I'm told.
Winston,
that can
he has a great reputation with the guys that he's played with.
But hey, there have been a lot of supposed bad guys that have been considered great teammates, loved by their teammates. He's a competitor. He makes throws, and that's really what matters. And you do have to give these guys time to grow up. Now, when supposed rapes and sexual assaults are involved, that's when I start to really, I mean, to me, that's the worst.
Look, Sully, all the things that you're saying about Winston, I agree with. He's a great player, and if I ended up with him at number 2, it's not like I wouldn't take the guy. Like, I don't want you to get the wrong idea. I would. I think he'd be a really good player. He's a freak, crazy athlete. He's strong and big, and he's all those things, and may wind up being the better player. But that's where I have problems with that. I have problems, with how's he going to handle the money? Is he mature enough to handle it? Is this guy out of the league before he can ever get a chance to be good? And I don't have those fears with Mariota. My fears with Mariota, strangely enough, are the opposite. It's, can he play in the league? I have no problems with his character or any of that. He's a great athlete, and he's proven to be a great passer too when given time, and in a great offense and in the right system, And I don't know. I probably would have taken Mariota, and people are going to call me an idiot, and maybe you're right.
I think there's probably 12 teams in that league would have taken Mariota over Winston.
So they're idiots too. All right. Listen, when you look at the AFC East, there's a really good column, by the way, the other day.
Thanks.
Boy, for the Bills, I wrote something a few weeks back saying I'm all on board with this running game thing, Rex and Pound and all this stuff with McCoy. I look around the division, every team is designed to stop that now.
I know, and this was not a good draft for them, and partly because they didn't have a first-round pick. They didn't get good grades for that reason. But 3 of the best value picks in the first round might have been by their divisional opponents. I mean, Malcolm Brown, they said he's fortunate. They're fortunate that he dropped. Mel Kiper had him as his 12th best player. I mean, Williams at 6 is a joke. I mean, that's an embarrassment of defensive line Richards with the Jets. If they figure out how to do it, how do you get a run on that team? They were hard to run on last year. And Devontae Parker for Miami, people thought that was certainly a good pick, and some people felt he could have been a little higher. They've really rebuilt their passing game. I guess the message here is, and you can speak to this from covering the Sabres and dealing with these people who don't seem to recognize that other teams get better too.
Yeah, everybody's getting paid. It's professional sports. So no, you're right about that. You know what? I look at a guy like, people always talk about Brady, and I have to taken 199 and all that other stuff. But a guy like Richard Sherman, I think he was taken in the 5th round, if I'm not mistaken, right? He gets taken in the 5th round, which to me means that 32 teams got it wrong 4 times before he was taken. So when I look at a lot of these draft experts, and this guy was supposed to go here, and he was taken too late, I'm to a point now, Sully, where I don't believe any of it. I wonder if you and I could, all the lists, when you see the rankings and all that stuff, and Kiper and McShay and all these other guys, and there's a million of them, there's 100 magazines out there doing this stuff, and there's all kinds of stuff online. If you and I sat down with a couple beers and said, you know what, they need a quarterback or a cornerback or a linebacker, and you say, that guy's pretty good. Like, what do they know that nobody else knows? There's no monopoly on knowledge.
I think a lot of it is just feel and also the eye test, watching these guys play live. I think there's probably too much of the combine type mentality now, like measurements, things you can measure. There's a lot, in sports, you can't really measure everything. Maybe Richard Sherman didn't have the measurables. You couldn't get him in a room and realize what a great leader he was. I don't know, did they not like that that was brash? But they missed something on him, and maybe it was a little bit of speed in the 40, or these, what do they do, pull-ups or whatever they do. They're playing football.
Right. Well, that's why you'll hear coaches and scouts, they talk about speed, and then there's football speed. And when I hear football speed, that's actually what gets my attention, because there are guys that are fast on the field, and there's other people in competition that it brings the best out of them. So they might not look like much in a practice. Believe me, I've seen a lot of guys in hockey practices and other sports where you're watching them going through practice and they just look like players. But, one guy's only so fast. Well, he's a lot faster when somebody's chasing him, or he's chasing somebody else, and that's what you talk about with football speed.
How many burners come into this league, like Darius Hayward Bay or whatever his name is, and even Goodwin in this town.
Right, Goodwin.
Mike Wallace that was already blown out and won another place. The receivers that are fast, but don't know how to to catch the ball, how to run patterns. Jerry Rice is a great example. He wasn't top of the chart speed by any means.
Exactly. All right, we're going to take a break, Sully. First, we're going to get to the trivia question. Then we're going to bring on Vic Carucci. Good trivia question this week, by the way, Ben Sugimoto. After turning this thing into an embarrassment the last time I was here. I had to say it. I'm still riled up, Sully. Since 2011, 7 Florida State players have been picked by the Bills. In which college have 4 Bills been drafted, second most in that span? We'll have the answer in just a moment.